Dr. Randall, the Soul Doctor, author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet, shares her 40 years of experience as a cross-cultural practitioner, medical futurist, and expert in 20 different modalities of healing, along with amazing interviews with some of the leading minds in medicine and big thinkers in all walks of life. The stories of our lives are the woven energies of our soul's paths. They feed and ignite the spiritual light that nourishes the universal soul, the one mind, the cosmic consciousness where we all come together. This podcast is going to be a deep dive into the personal stories of people who have made significant contributions to the planet. What formed them? What moved them to become these leaders and innovators that inspire us so? Hi, Larry.
Hi, Madeleine.
Oh my God, this is so thrilling, actually. You know, it's hard for me to believe that I have been sitting next to a superstar for an entire year who is my sound engineer at Agora Borealis Studio for my podcast, for this podcast. And I got his bio and it totally blew me out of the water. He is amazing. And I'm just really happy to have you.
Well, thank you. It's great to be here on this side of it.
I know, it's so funny. But let me just tell you a few things about him, why I'm blown away, and maybe you know already. He is one of the most innovative bass guitarists around. His distinctive sound is as exciting as it is just plain old funky. In addition, he's a dynamic singer. Well, you were singing in falsetto, what you showed me the other day, but do you have a range, or is that?
Well, yes, I'm high tenor, so full range, I can sing very high, and I do have a falsetto as well. But I kind of been compared to like Kenny Loggins or Richard Page, Bryan Adams. I can get up high and do a few different things with the tone. So nice. It's a lot of fun, yeah.
Nice. He's also a top-notch songwriter who has penned songs for award-winning artists and bands, including Air Supply, Ronnie Laws, Pablo Cruz, Michael Thompson in the Michael Thompson Band, Jeff Tyzik, to name a few. He's recently composed 10 new songs for Baywatch, remastered in HD, and he also appeared in the popular Tom Hanks movie, That Thing You Do, playing the role of Scott Wolfman Pell, and was awarded a gold and platinum record for his contribution to the film's soundtrack recording. Wow, that's amazing. The list of, yeah, you can imagine. Tom Hanks really is a nice guy, isn't he? I mean, for real.
You know, you keep hearing that, and then you meet the guy, and he is so generous with his time. And I'm a brand new guy coming in as a musician, and I've really never acted in a major motion picture before, and he made me feel so comfortable.
Oh.
And just guided me through because he was directing.
Yeah.
So that was interesting. Mm-hmm. And at the end of the day, he goes, "So Larry, you're a musician / actor now." Mm-hmm. And I went, wow, he didn't have to say that. Just really well, sweetheart. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, a good human being, and you're like this, is present, you know, with everyone they're with, and then it just makes it work. You know, he's that kind of person.
In the moment. Yes, very much.
Right. So. Anyway, so the list of artists that Larry's joined on stage and in the studio are also amazing. Many diverse talents such as Macy Gray, Ronnie Laws, Mos Def, Jeff Beck, Barry Manilow, Ricky Martin, Al Jarreau, Michael McDonald, oh, I love him, Shelby Lynn, the Pointer Sisters, Air Supply, the Jazz Crusaders, Shaka Khan, now that must have been fun, David Foster, Jennifer Holliday, Unruly Child, David Pack, Ambrosia, Philip Bailey, Earth, Wind and Fire, Gary Wright, Vesta Williams, Hurricane, Carl Anderson, Michael Franks, geez, you know everybody, Melba Moore, Bobby Lyle, Timothy Schmidt, my buddy from the Eagles, Rodney Franklin, Melissa Manchester, Jeffrey Osborne, Angela Bofill, Brad Gillis from Night Ranger, Valerie Carter, Bobby Caldwell, and Steve Lukather of the Toto Band. Larry also appeared in many films and TV shows, including Playing by the Heart, starring Sean Connery and Angelina Jolie, Lackawanna Blues, starring Halle Berry, the Coneheads, those are big ones, Wings, General Hospital, the new WKRP in Cincinnati, Throb, and Beverly Hills 90210. Well, welcome, Larry. I'm so thrilled to have you. I'm so lucky to have you as my editor and engineer. Also, you've helped me make my podcast popular, and I'm really thankful to you for that.
Well, you are the best when we get together, and we put that together. It's a combination of putting our minds together and listening to the conversation, and we are co-authoring everything. It's just really great, and you have the best ideas, and you let me do my thing, and we always get it done, don't we?
Yeah, we do. We really kick it.
Yeah, we do. We kick it. That's right.
Thanks.
I'm proud of every single one.
Well, I really want to talk about you because you're just fascinating. And I'd like you to tell me a little bit about your story. When did you know, or did you know, that you were going to become a musician? What moved you?
Well, this is very interesting in a way. My mother played classical music at the house all the time. My dad, we had a little upright grand piano, and he would be over there playing boogie woogie and da 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 da, playing Tea for Two and his songs. And so music was around the house, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they say about fifth grade, pick an instrument, and I said drums because I wanted to play the loudest instrument. And then what happened was that day I fell off the jungle gym, broke my arm, so I said I want to play the cornet, which is the second loudest instrument I could think of. And my mom thought I said clarinet, so she brings an instrument home, and I open it up, and it's this thing it's black with silver keys, and I put it together, and I just started squeaking away. And I went, that's not fun, but that leads to one, to the next, to the other. So I discovered bass clarinet, which followed through that I hear this frequency. I like the low end for some reason. So it just went forward to string bass, playing in the symphony, and then electric bass. And, never be afraid to try something new. That's what I discovered.
Awesome.
It'll lead you to where you're supposed to be.
Girl, good pearl for people to understand. I mean, one thing leads to another thing. It just becomes part of your whole repertoire in a way.
Exactly. I jumped a little bit, but right in the middle of all that, I took this little test in elementary school right when I was squeaking away on the first instrument, and they said, you have a real aptitude towards music. And that gave me a confidence that I never knew I was really good at something until they told me I was, and I believed these grown-ups. And so I said, maybe music, so I followed through with it. And it ends up you either have it in you and you have rhythm, you hear the music in your head and you can start moving forward, or it's just like a hobby.
Mm-hmm.
And so that it definitely turned out to not be a hobby because I couldn't stop thinking about it. That's how you know you're passionate, is that every waking hour you're going, well, I got to learn that song on the radio and I got to figure out what that guy's doing. And then next thing you know, you have this repertoire in your hands and you can start playing with other musicians. And, I was doing this at 14, 15, 16 years old. Really quickly came around and was started bands and doing all that and writing songs, all this in Santa Cruz, California, Northern Cal. That was a great place. All these great musicians. The Doobie Brothers were walking down the street. I'd see, Pat Simmons and Tyran Porter, and I'm going, wow, these guys live in my town. I can't believe it. They don't know who I am, but maybe someday they will.
Well, they
Um,
probably do now. So when did you finally realize the bass was the thing for you?
that was right around junior high into high school. So I
Hmm.
came across, bass clarinet like this. I was in the third chair, clarinet, hating it. And then he just held this up and said, "Who wants to play the bass clarinet?" That's what I'm talking about. Don't be afraid to try something new. So that changed my life. They
Hmm.
put me in the middle of the orchestra, and I heard all the melodies. I heard the rhythms back there. I heard the harmony parts over there, and I'm just in the middle of it with the bassoon player going boom, 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 playing bass. And I went, I hear the music now. I'm not struggling. This is easy. I found
Huh.
something, and kind of by accident, but it just maybe was destiny. So move forward, electric bass, go into high school, and you audition for the band, you get in the band, you get in the orchestra, and then you start doing these out of school things with these other musicians. And right away, before I was out of high school, I knew I was going to be a musician for life. I knew it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
What was your first big break?
First big break. Well, I was in Santa Cruz, and one of the great bands in Monterey, Roger Eddy Group, which had the finest players, guys from Berkeley graduates and genius musicians were playing. And they asked me. I mean, I was 19. They said, "You want to play in the band?" I'm like, I can't believe this. So yes, and I moved there out of my parents' house for the first time and started working and getting on this next level. And not too long after that, I get a call from a friend of mine, my friend Tom Fletcher, who's a great engineer working with Toto and everybody, Madonna, and he had heard of me, and he said, "Come down to LA," and he introduced me to Ronnie Laws, and I started that um, tour. And that was the first in 1986. I was on the road with Ronnie Laws, the great jazz saxophone player, and just kind of pinching myself, saying, I really can't believe that I'm here, but I must have done something right.
Yeah.
you know,
So that felt pretty good, huh?
That was so exciting. You get on the bus and you're going to town, and this is like what you dream about when you're in your hometown. And sure enough, it came to fruition, and we did. I played on probably 4 or 5 of his records. I wrote a song for him on the Brotherhood album, and yeah, great time, great schooling, great to learn the ropes of the road, and so that was incredible. And I just see the joy on people's faces, and I go, "This is why I'm doing this. This music is healing.
Yes.
It's changing these people's, whatever they had during the day or week. They come and they see someone entertain, play great music, and they get outside of their, whatever's eating them, whatever problems anybody has, that just disappears. And then the night becomes a magical place for everybody to come together. And I noticed that. I said,
Mm,
everybody comes together. And
that's nice.
yeah, I want to stay here. I want to be in this for the rest of my life. This is really what I want to do. I'm really excited that this is happening. And then you see that okay, the tour is over, and then now I'm just a new guy in LA, and the phone's not ringing, and you're going, what do I do? How do I network? And you have to think about all those things now.
Yeah.
You made the move, and nothing's just forever. There's this wave you have to ride. So you
Yeah.
get on the phone, and you just go out in clubs, sit in, you let people know what you do and who you are, and personalities click. There's a lot of different kinds of clicks everywhere. Those over there, you not quite fitting in with that, but over here you do, and you got to find out where you fit.
Hmm.
So found several different cliques, as they say, and groups of wonderful players and people that I've, over the last 30 years, have had great relationships.
So by the looks of your bio, you have relationships with so many people. You're like the Tom Hanks of bass players. It seems like.
Yeah, yeah.
And I
Well,
know because I've worked with you. You are that kind of person.
yeah, you kind of have to be able to be flexible, to work with a lot of different types of people. It's important to have a certain personality, I think, that really can adjust, and not to say that you become someone else. You are you, but some people are really aren't able to do that, and they can't kind of morph into certain styles, or cultures. Even I've worked with so many different kinds of cultures. All of the R&B, jazz, classical guys are different. Everyone has a different take, and I'll go over here and play some blues, and I'll play some hard rock, and that those guys are a whole nother thing than the other, and I'm able to kind of be a chameleon, which it's really helped in being a professional musician that can just work in many different situations.
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah. What's your favorite style? What's your style, or do you?
Well, I
Or you
like,
have you?
yeah, I mean, my favorite's always been, funk R&B stuff, because it's just for bass players. We can really, let it loose, and get funky and really take the instrument to a whole nother level. So, playing with Pablo Cruz has been great, because that combines kind of pop music with great
Mhm.
songwriting and lyrics, but it's also a playing gig, and there's a lot of funk R&B stuff mixed in with the pop. So that's really where I love to live, in that
Mhm.
zone. You can do instrumental gigs, and that's fine. But with the vocals and the stories going along with the music, it seems like you're, double whammy.
Right.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying that. And, even, yeah, that's my favorite for sure. Is,
Mhm.
is doing that, where you can really be a player. Because some pop gigs, they're it's okay and it's fun, and they sell millions of records, and the singers singing those songs, and you're backing them up, and you go, wow, this is incredible. But as far as a player,
Mhm.
and
It's so interesting to me, as a healer myself, that you are aware that you're healing people. Are other
yeah,
musicians aware of that, or?
I think no. I think
Mm.
a lot of people in the business, they are, it's a talent that they're accessing. They know that they're able to do it, and it's wonderful. And I see some people that are off on a tangent, where it's to be famous, or they're off on a tangent to for other whatever ideas they have. But I think I always keep in mind that it's about the people, you know,
Mhm.
and that's also Pablo Cruz's thing too. And the many artists are like this, and that's
Beautiful.
very popular with it, where it's not just look at me up here; it's I'm looking at you. Let's
Mhm.
take this invisible little barrier that's between us, and by the end of the night, we should all just be partying together.
Yeah.
And that's hard to do for a musician or a band, to break through the wall to the audience. Very hard. And so when you're in a situation that is happening every night, you're just very lucky.
Mhm.
And I've been in there many times with several different artists. So I feel very blessed in that way.
Yes. That is so beautiful.
There's some really unscripted, you know, artists that kind of go with the flow, and they just show up, and it's very in the moment, which I love. A
Yeah,
lot
I
of,
love that.
me, right? I know you do. It's being present, like as we were saying. So that's what's great about jazz, is you have to be present.
Mhm.
You have an outline of what the chord structure is, and then you're playing. There's a written melody, but also you get to improvise within those chord changes. So
Yeah.
as it's going by, you can't just say, I'm going to practice this one thing, and just play that. It's going to sound really stiff and very, you know, um, lay flat, basically.
Mhm.
But if you're just allowing your talent to just speak, and you know your instrument, you're going to play some stuff you never played in your life before that night, and
Mm.
it's going to blow some people away. And they're going to, that's what and then you go, I didn't know that was even going to happen, to be in that space, right in that zone, in where it's like God is there. He's right
Yeah.
there, and the talent that you have is being utilized, and you're going, well, this is what I'm doing. This is why I do this.
I love that. It's like the improv of musical
Yes,
existence.
that's right. Yeah, it's great.
That's wonderful. So when you write music, what is it? What type of music do you write? I know you have an album on a
Yes.
CD that you got to tell my guests how to get a hold of that. And
Okay. Yes. Well, there's as a writer. you're writing and you're writing and you're writing, and originally you have a band back in the day, and you're going to get a big record deal and all that stuff, and a lot of times, one of those songs may get placed in somewhere in a film or another band, like an artist that's already established with a record deal. He might say, "Who wrote that song? I want to record that song." And so you go, "Well, I need to not to separate myself out of this band when you're first starting your first bands, but if if it's a standout thing like the songwriter, they go something about this guy, right, or whatever he's writing." And so you say yes, like that Jeff Tyzik song. It's ended up on the record back in the day. Beautiful. Just wrote this piano part, and the singer wrote the vocals, and it just came together. And he went to New York and worked with the artist, and he heard the song. See how it works? Everyone's kind of moving and playing stuff for each other, and then he wanted to record it. Next thing you know, I get a call saying, "Join ASCAP, the song's on this record." And, at 18 years old, I was floored. Couldn't believe it. Just started
What record
writing.
was that?
Jeff Tyzik, "Smile." It's a song called "Love Won't Wait." I wrote with Gavin Christopher.
Yeah.
One of the amazing singers I've ever heard in my life. Anyway, so, he started and he helped me, and everybody's pulling, and, you see the co-writing, and you're compatible with some people, and some people you're not compatible with, so, and some people only write by themselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I like co-writing. 1, 2, 3, 4 people, whatever, who's ever in the room, if there's that thing happening, everybody's contributing, and then it ends up to, that's the strongest thing. You're not like, "Oh no, I'm just going to take this," because you can't be objective. But someone will say, "Well, that's when I'm writing with Corey Larios from Pablo Cruz, he'll always we're bouncing off each other, and I'll say, 'What about this line for this?' And he'll say, 'That's pretty Hallmark, Larry.'" Because I always want to go to the loved up thing. And he goes, "How can we say that? That's a great idea. And let's use a metaphor." And so I write another, he writes, he throws something, and whatever ended up, the strongest thing ends up on that song. And there's no question between the two of you that, yes, you always go, "Yes, let's move to the next line. Let's go to the chorus. Let's work this whole chorus." And it ends up being, when it's done, you can sing it and you go, "There's no other way this could be. It's done." And you take the paintbrush off the canvas and you let it be.
It's exciting.
Very. I love the process of songwriting. And it comes about in many different ways.
So didn't somebody buy a song from this last album you created?
Well, this last album, it ended up on a compilation CD, on a jazz compilation CD, one of the songs. And one of the songs ended up on CSI, and so, they found it because I put it up on the internet, and you're selling it through CD Baby or whoever. And then you realize that some people, there's a lot of pirating going on. So I'm looking online, and people are selling the CD in Europe and in Japan and everywhere else. They just copy the thing, and you're not making any money from that, but it's helping you either way, because when you go to Japan to play, all those people, you basically had been promoted by someone else that doesn't even know you. So they come to the concerts, right? It's really weird. But there's also people, music supervisors, that are looking for music all the time, and they're scanning things and they're hearing stuff, and they might have just run into it on Spotify or somewhere, and they go, "Well, that's perfect for this scene. Let's license it." They call ASCAP, they'll work out the deal, and then your statement comes, and it's like, "I didn't even know that happened." A friend of mine, I co-wrote a song with Sean Holt. We wrote a song one day at his house on his piano, and a beautiful song, and it ended up in a movie called Blind Obsession. And it was, again, I got my statement from ASCAP, and I had been out of touch with him for a few months. And I call him up, I go, "You didn't even tell me." And he goes, "Oh yeah, I made this, that our song, it's in the movie." And luckily he's fair, and he, put my percentage as half writer. Some people don't do that, and you have to go after it, but all my friends are very awesome. So, it gets done. It gets done right.
Great. So what is the name of that album?
It's called Village Strut. And it's got a funky, strutty kind of cool thing about it. It's, I write a lot of melodies, pop songs, etc. But this one, I wanted to go after the bass, and I wanted to, I grew up listening to Stanley Clarke. I listened to Jaco Pastorius. They were bringing the bass into the lead, playing up high on the fingerboard, playing beautiful melodies. Jaco was a fretless bass player, and Stanley had that alembic bass with real point to his sound, and just getting it, and, doing things no one's ever heard that bass do before. So I was growing up, and I was learning my bass, and those records were out, and I just started emulating them. So all these years later, I go, I'm gonna make a record that has bass melodies, and also some vocals on there as well. But it came out. People really love this record, and it's great. It's got a lot of, a couple of ballads on there that are beautiful, and some real up-tempo funky things. I had some great people play on it. We do favors as musicians, so I'll play on your record, you play on mine, kind of thing. So.
So how would somebody get a hold of it if they wanted to?
You can go to CD Baby and get it. Also online, there's a couple. You can go to my Facebook page. I can get it to you as well, Larry Antonino. And there's always a way. I have units here I can just ship to you. And always writing new stuff. The Baywatch thing you mentioned, that was about 2-3 years ago. It was the remastered version of the original show. So we wrote 10 new songs for that, and that was in 120 countries. And that show, when it was in the 80s, it was huge. And so they want to do this thing in high def, and it looked great because they shot it on film, and just we needed to replace a couple songs. So that's it got done, and I was honored to be on the writing team for that.
That sounds like fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Watching David Hasselhoff move in slow motion,
So, what about the Native American one? What were you?
Okay, you're talking about the Vanishing Race. That's Air Supply. That was the 1993 release, and basically, we were on the road, and we were looking at this book about Native American Indians, and we turned to this page in the middle, and it said the Vanishing Race. And they're talking about the Native. What happened to the indigenous people of North America. And we were just, wow, this is an exciting kind of idea to maybe compose something. And I just went to my room, and I got my bass out, and I came up with this melody, and I brought it to sound check the next day, and I started playing it, and Graham Russell just went, oh my gosh, what is that? I said, well, this is something after we talked about this story that came to me, and it ended up being the big chant in the song, where like 10,000 people at these concerts would be chanting, whoa, whoa,
wow,
and then Michael Sherwood comes in, and because we had a chorus and Graham had the verse, and we were starting to write, and then Mike comes in with this beautiful piano part and writes the rest of the verses and the bridge, and he's a genius. We just lost him, unfortunately. But his body work is just all incredible. Mike Sherwood, my good friend, and he was on the road playing keyboards at the time. So, but that ended up being on that record, the title cut, and I think it sold about 750,000 copies. Yeah,
wow,
worldwide. So that was a really big deal, And you just keep moving forward. Then, things move, and you're changing, and then you get off the road, and you get another record deal, and so musicians, we got to keep moving.
Right.
And making our own thing too, So
yeah. How do we get that? How do we get that one, Vanishing Race?
The Vanishing Race, you can order that, I'm sure, on Amazon or anywhere online. So there's that one, and a record called "The Earth Is," which I wrote a song on as well. So that's the 1991 Air Supply album. Very progressive for what they were doing. They had all those love ballads in the 80s, and and it was amazing. Those guys sold like 73 million records. I mean, Graham Russell and Russell Hitchcock, those two guys, Ralph Cooper on drums on all those early records, and on the rest of the guys. And so I kind of came in '89 and part of a new couple of guys being added, so I caught the tail end of their whole giant success and was able to write and play on a few of those records as well, so yeah, you're just kind of moving forward, and you're just being put in these situations where, you're going, wow, God is my agent. I don't have an agent. How do I end up here? People recommending you, you're good friends, and it's just like you end up where you're supposed to be. It's true. And then sometimes you end up in a situation and you're not supposed to be. So you just take yourself out of it.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. You got to listen to your gut. It's a very important thing.
Right.
So stay where you're lifted, where you feel respected, and you feel like you're valued. And so when I feel that thing, that's where I know I'm in the right spot.
Right. Well, I know it's been hard on musicians, well, on all of us, actually, this last year or so, with COVID and not being able to perform and not being able to have, groups, big groups come in and see you. And so I guess that's partly I got lucky why I got to work with you, because you were available. But now things are picking up a little, I understand. And
right.
What's that like?
Well, it's slowly starting to come back, the gigs. It was, again, I've been a musician since like I was 16, and now I'm, so it's been many, years, and I've never not done a gig in a week. Every week I'm doing something, every month it adds up to this much. And I just got used to this routine of I'm going to this gig, I'm putting my equipment in the car, or I'm doing a recording session, or I'm doing that, or I'm writing with this person. It's this big thing. It's always this machine I love. It's part of your daily routine. And then it's not happening all of a sudden. I was going to have the best year of my life. And it just, in March, it stopped. It was like the world stopped. And I go, okay, now what are we going to do now? Nobody knew what was happening. And the only thing that kind of saved me was that I had this engineering side to me. And I'd been making my own recordings with home studios for many years. And I've upgraded to the new thing. And to get my songs recorded as demos, then I can, place them with whoever. You can send these out. They got to sound great. So you can't just make your phone in the room. Here's my song, ding, ding, ding. It's got to sound like a record already. So I learned how to do that many years ago. And, we work with Logic or Pro Tools. Those are the two main programs that people use. There's Cubase. There's so many kinds, but it's digital, and there's unlimited tracks. So you get in there, you get the right mics and the right preamps, and you get, and you have to have, number one, a great song and great performances. So if you capture it right with the right equipment, then you got yourself something. And luckily, when this thing locked down, I had this wonderful studio, Agora Borealis, here, where we do our thing, every week, our podcast with your show, and it's been just wonderful. I get to have a full drum set all mic'd up, and the amps, guitars, everything under the sun. So we can do anything there. And that was built by Arthur Kelm, who designed some rooms at Capitol Records. So Glenn Campbell's old house. So the fact that my good friend Scott Moyer introduced me to Harold and Francine Green was a blessing. And that's how I met you. And so this is all coming full circle into an awesome, amazing part of what's the journey I'm on. And here we are.
So what do you see for the future, Larry? What do you see for your future? And what do you see for the future of music? Do you see any changes? Do you see, what's going to happen?
Yeah, boy, a lot has happened already in music, because it used to be you can just get a record deal if you were, if you had maybe good management and you had something that was special, and you can break through all the thousands and thousands of bands or artists or singers trying to do that thing, right? But now because look at guys like Elton John. They had like a 3 or 4 album deal. So we like this guy. We're gonna bring him in. We're gonna do an artist development deal. Okay, he makes the first album. People go, okay, that guy's pretty good. The second album, oh wait a minute, this guy's really good. Sold this many. Okay, they're not even recouping necessarily the recording costs and all this amount of money that for advertising and everything, but the record labels would stay with you. They'd hang on, they believe in you. Album 3, you got Yellow Brick Road or what, Goodbye Norma Jean's come. I mean, oh my God, then you're Elton John, But now, if you put out a song and it doesn't do a certain number, you're out of there. We can't spend any more time to develop you. Either you're fully developed and have like 1 million Twitter followers and this and that, and we can just throw it out there, and it's going to be great. But if it's not going to fly the first, maiden voyage, they don't know if they can trust that you're going to develop into a great artist anymore. I don't know where those deals went. Artist development. It just seems like you got to make a great record and then figure it out from there. It's changed a lot. That part of the business changed a lot. So if you can't flow with that and realize that you got to do all the stuff yourself, that's why I'm making my own records, making my own master recordings, and then you can release them and they can go out here. Very lucky to have Pablo Cruz. We put a beautiful single out even during the pandemic that we all wrote and that did very well. So, you got to find these platforms. You got to find these people that know you by now, and it's all these years and connections and this and that and the other thing to be able to even get through the door for someone to hear it, and then you can get basically a distribution deal for the song, and it could end up on someone's album. It could, there's music supervisors all over that are looking for stuff, and you have to know who these people are. So that really. It's changed. You got to do the work. You have to be an entrepreneur. You, as an individual, I don't care what instrument you play. You could be. People have to really know where they're going. So my future is songwriting and recording, and also I will always be a musician and be playing. And as you kind of get to a certain age, you go, well. Okay, there's the market for that. There's the market. So you start thinking in these numbers, but at the same time, you got to love what you're doing. So follow all that. And if you're thinking about this, you will go this direction instead of that direction to get something done. You can't sit around. You can't wait for the phone to ring. You got to make it happen. You got to make calls, and the right people will be there magically because you put in the work. You can't be idle, sitting around being a songwriter in your house with like 1,000 songs in your cabinet over there that are amazing that no one ever hears. That's just a tragedy for a great writer or a great musician or a great singer. So everybody needs to figure out how to project their talent and reach out. And we all need each other. Everybody needs each other to make it happen.
So that's beautiful. What I think I'm hearing you say is you have to diversify, like you
absolutely.
did.
Yes.
You have several different things you can do, and of course, not give up and continue to have a good attitude and trust your love in music.
Yes. Diversify is a great word. You must diversify. If you have to take control over your own publicity. I mean, everyone's, you get the big record deal back in the day. Oh, they got the engineer, the studio, the producer, the publicist, the stylist, all these things that end up being that album, okay? But that's the difference that you're asking me about. That's not what's going on. You have to find out what's your image. What do you want to project? So you better find, maybe you have someone that that can help you with your image, if that's it, or for a publicist to know when to post things, when to put things out there to let people know that you are coming up with a new album or you're performing a show, and enough notice to where people actually buy the tickets and you pre-sales. And so, but nobody's just going to do this for you. You got to really put your little team together of your immediate family, kind of, friends and family. So that's how you keep going and keep getting it done.
Yeah, I agree.
Someday, you hit a big one,
Hmm.
So I have songs that could end up. Bruno Mars should record one of my songs right now. It was, jump right off his record, and people would love it. I just got to figure out a way to meet Bruno Mars now.
I love that, and of course, being a doctor, I totally get what you're saying. I've had to diversify as well, as you know, but so I understand where you're going. Where do you think that music is ultimately going? Is it the same? Is it your? I mean, everybody's experiencing the same.
Yeah, to a certain degree, yes. I think everyone is experiencing, and the music is changing all the time. So there, back in the '70s, you had these groups and that sound, whether it
Yeah,
be Allman Brothers or the Eagles or whatever was going on with bands and that sound with the big guitars. Now, and then, rap came in, very important to express that part of what's going on in the world, in these communities. That's important. And you can say, I'm going to choose, anybody could, and anytime can choose to listen to what they like or not. So, everybody's preferences. There's some country music that I never really in the past would listen to, but now I'm listening to some of these country records, modern country, and they're kicking butt. I mean, there's some great artists, great lyrics, melodies. So, I'm now tuning into that radio station when I didn't before. So I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to be like as a writer just saying, oh no, I only write this, because it could end up being in that genre. So yeah, you never know where things are moving towards. You can watch certain award shows on television. You go, I don't know any of those artists, but then I'm going to learn who they are. You can't just be the person that's getting older and saying back in the day when they used to write good songs and used to make real records. If you do that, you're dead.
yeah,
You have to say what's going on today that's cool, because back then there was some crap on the radio too, and
right.
so the good stuff ends up out there. So let me find out today what these new kids are coming out with that's cool, and let me write something like that. Let me get inspired by this new generation.
Hmm.
I'm not gonna go there. I'm not gonna turn into the old fuddy duddy that just likes that music back in the day. I'm not never gonna be that guy.
Hmm.
And so it keeps me fresh, keeps me writing, keeps me energized about the
Yeah.
future and about where this can go, this business. And we're all learning from each other.
Yeah, I get that. I'm in my own area. I'm always learning new things. I study every day. I mean, learning new things to help me express the message that I want to get across to people, which is a positive, life enforcing type of a
Yes,
message. And
that's a beautiful.
I think music is part of that. Is it like you said, it helps people get outside of themselves. It's like taking a trip. It helps people relax. And sound is known to be healing. It changes the vibration of your body. It slows down your brain waves, slows down your heart, all of that stuff. If you were going to pick a song to end this show with that personifies you and your feeling about music, what would that be?
A song called Love and Beyond.
All right.
Yeah. It's a song Michael Thompson and I wrote on his new record. And it's very deep, and I think it's a great song. I'd love to play it for you.
We'll do that. We'll do that.
Is it gonna be us? I'll show you love and beyond. No, it's all about trust, or it's never enough. I'll show you love, a love and beyond. I'll show you love and beyond. Well, here we are again. So many words left unsaid, but there's another world where people share. So don't walk away. Please don't walk away. Holding on to memories that sold you in the past. But now I'll be on your side. So believe in me. I'll show you love and beyond. Are you gonna be up? Am I gonna be down? Is it gonna be us? I'll show you love and beyond. No, it's all about trust, or it's never enough. I'll show you love, a love and beyond. I'll show you love and beyond. You have a choice, only you can make. I've showed you my soul, now I've just got to know. So don't make that mistake again and close the door. Oh no, I'll show you love and beyond. Is it gonna be us? I'll show you love and beyond. Love and beyond. I'll show you love and beyond. I know you can taste it. Love and beyond. I know we can make it. I'll show you love and beyond. Just go on and take it.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and sharing some of you with us and some of the behind the scenes, Larry Antonino. And he's rocks it. So we're
We have a
gonna,
good time.
yeah, you're the best.
Well, I want to tell you, I really appreciate you, and everything that we're doing is it's great work, and people need to listen to your podcast. There's so much vital information, and it's the best thing on the radio. It's not on the radio, it's on the podcast actually,
Right.
but people need to tune into what you're saying.
Thank you. Well, I couldn't do it without you.
Glad to be here. It's great.
All right. All right, Larry. So
Thank you.
I'm going to say goodbye right now.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. I'm Dr. Gail Randall, creator and host of Soul Stories. I just want to thank you for listening to my podcast. I recently got a notification from the International Podcast People, and I was astounded that so many countries are listening to my podcast in the category of alternative health. So thank you, and please continue to listen. I especially want to thank Egypt, Croatia, Japan, and Switzerland, also France and Ireland, because my numbers were quite high there. So keep up the good work and check out my Instagram at Dr. Gail Randall, and particularly check out my Instagram TV, where you can hear me talking about alternative medicine subjects and also see me. It's a very good show, and I think you'll like the subjects. It's on 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time every Friday, but it's recorded there, so you can find it there anytime you look. Okay, thanks again. I love you guys. This is Dr. Gail Randall from Soul Stories, and author of Soul Doctoring, Heal Yourself, Heal the Planet. I want to thank Saltology, our sponsor, at bathsalt.com, which fits perfectly into my medicine bag as it, like me, calls upon the ancient wisdom and modern technology to heal, especially with the stresses and ills of our modern times. The Bokak brand uses organic salts combined with organic essential oils sourced from ancient Egypt to provide a perfect remedy for your bathing ritual and healing from modern stresses. The Relief RX brand is a unique one-of-a-kind healing salt that uses organic CBD, treated with a unique emulsification process to create nanoparticles which easily enter the skin to most effectively heal and relieve aching muscles and joints. Whether from chronic inflammation or just a rough workout, this is the perfect healing bath, especially when you add the organic essential oils of neroli, lavender, eucalyptus, or grapefruit. Your body, mind, and soul will be lifted and soothed like never before. Go now to bathsalt.com. I also want to give special thanks to Larry Antonino and Agora Borealis Recording Studio for music and score, and also to closetotheearth.com for IT and computer assistance.